What is going on, Hot Take Nation? You are here for episode, I think we're at 64 of the Hot Take of the Day podcast. And today we are going somewhere totally different, which I'm super excited about. I have Puneet Nanda on the show. I'm going to tell you about Puneet, but first, Puneet, thank you so much for coming on the Hot Take of the Day podcast.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, we've obviously talked about this a lot as listeners and as readers of the blog. Energy is going through a transformation. And, Danielle DiMartino Booth, who we had on the show yesterday, talked about, accepting change. And she told the story about a waitress who saw the writing on the wall with COVID and has now gone back to nursing school because they saw that as much as they liked being a waitress and as much as it's an amazing middle America job that a lot of people do, she didn't feel secure. And so she made a change in her life for the better. And Puneet has a great story. And so, Puneet, why don't we start with you founded, if I'm correct, a company called Dr. Fresh. It was like an oral care company. Can you talk to us about Dr. Fresh and the time frame of that company?
So quickly giving you a quick background, I originally am from New Delhi, India. I went to school in Russia. I speak Russian too, and I started Dr. Fresh with the investors, and the reason I started Dr. Fresh was because I knew oral care because my family used to manufacture toothbrushes, and I did not want to go through the USMLEs and put a lot of my time in that. And Dr. Fresh became very successful because I invented a toothbrush called Firefly, which was a light up toothbrush that taught kids how long to brush. It's since then it's become the number one toothbrush in the world. It's not owned by me anymore. We sold it a long time ago, and yeah, but
And so, what did the toothbrush do? Did it have a song or lights or what?
so the idea came because my daughter used to wear light up shoes, and she wouldn't go to a party without that toothbrush. And I decided, I told her, why don't I make a light up toothbrush for you? She said, can you make it, Dad? I said, sure can. So I took a little toothbrush, and you see those buttons on Disney Walkway, when you twist them, they light up. I put that right behind a toothbrush with an invisible tape and gave it to her. She went to the restroom and came back after 10 minutes saying, Dad, would this ever turn off, or should I brush my teeth out? So that kind of gave me an idea that if I put a timer on a light, that would instigate brushing into people, psychological compliance. So that became extremely popular amongst the
Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's just an amazing story about just the simplest idea. And ideas are worth nothing unless you execute on them. And it was improved by your daughter, and the next thing you know, you make the world's most popular toothbrush.
Correct. And we sold that. What, how I came to that point was we became so successful. I ended up working even harder. I put licenses on top of them, like Hello Kitty and Orby and every other license in the world. And with the cash flow, we were able to buy other brands like Banaka and at one point, I was working like 19 hours, eating McDonald's, Jack in the Box, and whatsoever, and literally drinking Coke and not exercising and being on phone most of my time. Like I used to have BlackBerry. I got treated for sore thumb at one point, and so that all one day led me to a panic attack, which I thought was a heart attack because my secretary called 911 and I was taken to a hospital, and the doctor said, what are you running after? Like, what are you trying to be? Do you know who's the president of Uganda? I said, no. He says, then let me tell you, nobody in Uganda knows you. So, so it's great that what you're doing, but just slow down and enjoy life because the destination is death. And
The destination is death. It's funny that you say that, and I didn't have that opinion. I mean, I've had that opinion, but I've never voiced it before. And so, and the way I always describe it is, we all end up in a pine box.
right.
It's just when and how you get there.
So he was a friend of mine, and he went to school with me, and he'd come to meet me, and told me that. So the destination is death, and you're running towards it. So he says, slow down, enjoy the trees around you, and smell the flowers, do the right thing, and still work so that you know you can be busy. You can also enjoy the fruits of your labor while you do that. So that changed the opinion in my life, and I decided, you know what, maybe it's time I take a little break. But the way I'd built the business, I couldn't take a break. So I found the right buyer. I sold the business and majority of the business. And at
So
that time, I took a year off and I went to a yoga place, yoga ashram, it's called in India, and uh, regenerated myself. I lost 40 pounds. I kind of became a lot more healthier. I had a renewed vigor for life and totally changed my life. I started meditating every day. I started to look at life in a totally different way. And and that made me a new person, or gave me at least 20, 30 years more in life. That panic attack was actually anxiety breakdown, nervous breakdown, and it was not a heart attack. So I got kind of saved, but I would tell you, people who are smart learn from other people's mistake, don't do it themselves. So I would say a lot of times we run, run, run. The best thing is to plan and take baby steps, because I still live by Bruce Lee's words, who said that who said that slow is smooth and smooth is fast. So if you want to go fast, you go slow, you go smooth, and you'll go fast. So
so I have so many. I mean, I just love the timing in this conversation, and I love your aura and your presence, because I think that as you said, things are going so quick and things are changing so fast. Not only do we have social media and 24/7 news and demands of finances and mortgages, and just life is going so fast, it seems, and you were able to slow it down. So when you had the panic attack, was there an event that that really happened that triggered the panic, is my first question. And then to follow up on that, it seems very, when death is the destination, that there must have been a longer conversation, or you were just ready for an epiphany after this anxiety attack, and that was it. That was seeing the light. Is that fair to say?
I think I was struggling every day. Uh, that what am I doing? So that was an epiphany, as you said. But uh, to was there a particular occasion? Yes, it was a build-up. It was a build-up. I would say it was a build-up of wrong habits of eating mindlessly, sitting down too much without getting up and stretching, without breathing too much. So what I learned was during my yoga days that how you fix your own body. And all of a sudden I realized that medicine is great, but truly medicine is great when it's emergency. But in true sense, you are your own doctor, and you fix yourself with four things. It's called how to purify yourself, or pure method. Pure is respiration. So you run, or you do some weights, or you do some yoga, or whatever you do so that you perspire, because you want your toxins out. Because we're eating preservatives every day into our ketchup, or whatever else. It's ketchup is what? Salt, sugar, and tomatoes with tons of preservative. Similarly, all other things, if you look at it, everything is preservative based. Anything that is processed or coming to your home from a retail grocery outlet is a preservative laden product. Our bodies were not used to preservative. Lately, I'd heard of McDonald, a guy who would put McDonald's sandwich in his jacket and it was as it is for 14 years. Imagine if those preservatives can preserve something for so long, how would they react in your body? They will let those foods not get digested properly in your body too. So your body is not absorbing all the minerals and trace minerals and things that it is supposed to absorb. And we are getting immune wise weaker and weaker and weaker. And all that extra preservative stuff is toxins, which end up becoming toxic fat because they go and store themselves in fat cells, which are like warehouse of the body, which are like empty inside. So it's, and those toxic cells don't break because our body is putting a lot of water around it, and that water leads to inflammation, because that's like you find a lot of water weight in a lot of people because that's inflammation, because our body,
So like bloating. When you feel bloated, it's like a water.
bloating is slightly different, but this is where fat around your armpits or around your stomach. So all that fat cells, they have toxins in there. That's toxic fat, which is surrounded by water so that they don't break and the toxins don't toxify your body. It's your body's mechanism to save itself. And so when you perspire slowly, little by little, you are able to detox by bringing your sweat out or perspire. Urinate. So most people don't drink water, and I make sure um, I have water that I'm always drinking. Uh, and I used to hardly drink water, literally. I've also seen a lot of people taking liquid IVs, this, that, all those electrolytes that are available. The problem with that is it's great, but the problem is they're advertising one pack is equal to 3 liters of water. So these are kind of people who drank hand sanitizers thinking that would cure corona. So, so people think they are good enough, and a lot of people actually are drinking coffee, saying, "Oh, I'm taking my liquids, 5 cups of coffee." Now, for every cup of coffee, I learned you actually have to have 2 glasses of water to kind of neutralize it because it's dehydrating. And
Right.
so, similarly, if you're drinking water, you're urinating, you're actually making your kidneys absorb all the bad materials and flush them out. So, so that is very important. Then respiration. So you deep breathe. We're sitting all day long in our offices, or we used to, at least in our offices, and our diaphragm.
Now we sit in our basements and our home offices.
Exactly. And I can really wear a shirt and a short and talk to you and have my sports shoes on rather than, you know, that's what you're seeing. Lululemon stock is up and rest everything in the world is down, Ralph Lauren or whatever. So, urinate. So you drink enough water, 3 liters of water, urinate so that you can flush your toxins, and excrete. So basically, go to the restroom. So you're eating enough fiber in your, with not eating just bread, so that you can
But like
actually
real fibers.
real
Like
fiber, real
hmm
greens. So you can actually clean your body, and it can make you function. And that's the way I learned you can actually live better. So that's kind of yogic lifestyle that really changed. It's not about just making stretching and making poses, beautiful poses, because a lot of people think yoga is all about this skinny girl making 100 beautiful poses in their Lululemon.
I mean, that's why I watch yoga. And why I go to yoga. But I haven't.
Right,
I didn't. Pure is a pretty good acronym for the
right,
real sort of the real basis.
right. And with what happens is yoga is actually a lifestyle more than anything else. So it's about eating right, it's about sleeping enough, it's about thinking right, because your thoughts in your head also contribute half of how you feel, how you will be doing, and how you will be acting and actually being in with the world. So your thoughts control your health as well, and thoughts control your relationships with people around you. So if you think right, if you're eating right, and everything synchronizes and you feel healthy and immune and you're ready to fight a bad disease or a bad situation.
So perspire, urinate, respirate, and excrete.
Yes, correct.
So let's talk about the meditation portion, because again, I find it, you went through and you had an epiphany, and um, you've held on to this epiphany, because if I read correctly, you sold the company in about 2011. We're now at 2020, and so you've really lived your best life for the last 9 years, and changed the way you approached every day. It sounds like.
So first 4 years after selling the company, I was actually focused on totally on yoga and related things. But then the entrepreneur in me got me back into starting Guru Nanda, which is an essential oil business.
Yeah.
And that I started just because I was using certain essential oils, and one of them literally changed the way I thought about natural things. And it was oregano oil. I was in Greece, and I used to sneeze a lot every morning, and I would have to take Claritin all the time, like literally 10, 12, 15 a month. And that few drops of oregano oil in a certain carvacrol content with water, lots of water diluted, actually made that sneezing cycles go away totally. I've never taken a Claritin ever again.
Wow.
Ever. So.
And how did you, so someone else was making this oil and you were in Greece and you were sneezing and they said, here, try.
Actually, very interesting. No, I went to a distillery. I'd gone to Greece and I'd taken a chocolate tour. It's called, like, they show you how to make chocolates and stuff. And then there was another tour where they were showing you how to distill oils. And I had time, so I just decided to go to take that tour. And I had forgotten my Claritin in Bulgaria, and in the hotel room, and there was nothing available in Greece. And I was sneezing, and this old man, who's the father of this distiller, he gave me this. He said, "Son, come over. Let me help you out." He said, "Would you drink it?" I thought, "Is it poison, and what is it?" He said, "Drink it with lots of water right now. You'll feel better by tomorrow if you do it 2 more times." And I said, "Okay, there's nothing. Worst come worst, let's plant something." So I took it, and I forgot about it. But next day when I woke up, after that, I took it once again in the evening, and I did not sneeze, and it was magic. Literally, I thought this is some kind of witchcraft. Literally.
Wow.
And that changed.
And so you ingested that one, and that sort of inspired you to say, I assume the oils and the aromatherapy is more sense and topical as opposed to ingested. Is that right?
Correct. So I'd gone to when I was studying science in the med school. So I'd gone through this thing. My professor used to say, there was a very popular medicine in India called homeopathic medicine, and my professor used to say, if something does not have a side effect, it has no effect. So he used to kind of teach us, look at medical science, just the tablets, and don't look at medical science apart from the tablets and vaccines and stuff like that, so antibiotics and stuff like that. But I realized there's a world that's there that is much further along, because this medical science that we know of as of today is only less than 200 years old. Prior to that, people were still living, and apart from the wars, they were still living up to 80, 90 years. A lot of them died because they died out of wars and wounds in the wars. But so I still think our medicine is amazing when it comes to emergency medicine, but it's not necessarily the end all. It has to have amalgamation where you can have some kind of non so-called FDA regulated medicine. There should be a different body, actually. There should be a FDA, but it should focus its effort. It should be more like natural FDA,
Right.
natural FDA.
Well, yeah, I mean that makes a really great point because I mean, and especially in India, I would think of there and Japan as well. People live a very very long life, and there are they call it Eastern medicine or whatever it is, but there's a body of knowledge. Whereas here, you're right, we tend to go to, well, we need a pill for this, or we need a vaccine for this, or we need you know, whatever it is. So it's fascinating that so in 2015 you felt this, and then you started a company to quench
Started
your.
a company called Guru Nanda. Guru means teacher. Nanda is my last name. And Guru Nanda was actually the name of my yoga studio. I actually uh, have had a yoga studio where I was teaching yoga as I learned it, and I even taught Jay Leno on in his famous TV show Jay Leno's Garage. If you would Google it, you can see that I taught him yoga in a car. I got a lot of negative comments about that, but that was just for fun. But uh, and apart from that, when I started this business, it also lent me looking into the world from the natural holistic side, how we can help using some of the techniques that have been long forgotten.
So what types of therapies would you have? Like, so if I were to be coming to you, and I know very little about it, and so what kind of ailments can you treat? And then I want to tie that also over to sort of the mental state, the depression and anxiety, frustration or hopelessness. I think a lot of people are probably feeling that, and I know that I certainly get frustrated, especially with the state of the world, the COVID, and the polarization of politics and friendships that seemingly, you always knew you should never talk about politics and religion and money and sex at the dinner table with your friends. But like for the last 6 months, nothing else has been going on but COVID, and now you have that conversation and you see fractures in relationships that would never have existed before, and now they do. And I'm sure a lot of people have these feelings. So how do you coach, and how do you counsel, and how do people find a way to make their life better using your products and yoga and meditation?
So first of all, following the principles of yoga is very important. And yoga has no religion attached to it, just FYI. It's just a way of life, and it's the world's way of life. And this is um, India adapted it probably from 10,000 years ago, but it may have been it came from Africa or it came from somebody in Mexico. I don't know, but India adapted it, and Indian heritage remained for a long time because of the ice ages not affecting them or something. So it got prevalent in India, but truly yoga got really its fame in America, if you would really believe me. And after going to several camps in Hawaii and in certain parts of America, I have a strong belief that yoga is actually more popular in the United States than any place else in the world. And although in India they follow the yogic principles, which are principles of ahimsa, principles that teach you to live a little bit more detached from everything that attaches you. Like what attaches you is Zar, Zoru, and Zameen, which means Zar is wealth, Zoru is woman, and Zameen is land. So these are, they say, the three things that make you attached to everything else. It's the three bases of attachment. It
I think
tells
I think Charlie Munger says liquor, ladies, and leverage are the three things that ruin men. So this seems like an equivalent concept in yogic basis. I like that.
so very similar. So what I would suggest is people need to just number one, take a breather, because at the end of the day, as I said, destination is death. So slow down, start breathing. It's right under your nose. A lot of people don't breathe. And that's probably the single little thing. Like I know somebody who told me, hey, I was in the farmer's market, hey, buy some blueberries. They are antioxidants, which is great. They are. But why don't you start breathing, my friend? That's the best thing you can do. Start breathing because literally we sit most of the days. And when we sit, our diaphragm, which is our muscle that is a unique muscle because you can actually control it and it also works by itself. So when you're sleeping, you're still breathing, or you can take your breath in and that muscle actually is like a parachute, it can go down. So if you breathe and literally instead of just pushing weights in gym, if you actually can breathe better, what happens is the diaphragm starts to work better. And if the diaphragm is working better, what happens is that it can push the oxygen to every cell in your body. So the deterioration starts, or everything starts when there is less oxygen in your cell. So when the oxygen doesn't permeate the cell wall properly because its pressure is not there, what happens is your cell starts to deteriorate, and slowly there is cell death and pain and issues, uh, disease or whatever it. So by making yourself breathe better, you can actually fix at least 20 to 50% of your issues on a day-to-day basis. Breathing better and drinking enough water can literally two simple things which are accessible to every single human being, hopefully. Means I'm not talking of polluted areas right in the center of Beijing and in where traffic police is being a traffic policeman, but living in California or living in Wisconsin or wherever, you can breathe, right? You can set up a space where you can deep breathe and drink a lot of water every day. That can fix 50% of your problems. If you're healthy in your body and mind, a lot of the other things become secondary. And and then after that you start thinking better. You eat right, you eat a lot of vegetables, you eat right, you excrete, your body starts to feel happy. And when your body starts to feel happy, you spread happiness because happiness spreads happiness. If you're happy, your direct family, your wife, your children, your girlfriend, they'll all start to reflect happiness. And that is very, very consummating. Versus if one person in the house is sick or in pain, they'll throw the stuff and say, don't you shout. Don't you do that. I'm in pain. Don't you see that? That you become irritated and you take that irritation on a third person on the first person back again. It's an ever revolving string of things and you're in a mess.
So let's talk about meditation. Because when I think about meditation, I've had people suggest that I should, and I think after this, I'm gonna commit to actually do it. So meditation to me is in part breathing. What would you say to someone who is a beginning meditator who's saying, look, I'm not happy with the way the world's going. I feel a lot of negativity. I want to break the cycle. I want to be healthier. I want to enjoy my life. I want to embrace the destination as death. And I'm going to use meditation as part of that. What would you say to that person, and how would they go about becoming more familiar with that part of the yogic experience?
So the big problem here is people, when they're told to meditate, they think they need to take a candle, keep it in front of them and look at it, keep looking at it, or do some breathing with it or something. Or they take up to apps like Calm and they want to lie down with their eyes closed and listen to that app. And for some people, it works amazing. But for people like you and me, zero. The reason being, if you try that, you'll kind of take off your earphones and you're probably type A personality like me. I'm an entrepreneur. I build stuff. I'm not Elon Musk, but I'm probably iota of Elon Musk because I do stuff every day. I can't still sit still. So for me, meditation has to be a different format altogether.
Because
And
otherwise, thoughts fill your mind, I would imagine. Because that's been my barrier before.
right,
Is I can't quiet my mind.
no.
There's very few times I can quiet my
So there is ways to do it. I'm gonna do it right now, one simple way, and
mind. Okay.
I'll teach you a few things, other things. But this one thing, if you do it right after our interview, try doing it for 5 times. I'm gonna do it for one time, 5 times, and when you open your eyes, you'll feel a different you. And the beauty is we're doing something called dynamic meditation. So it's for people, entrepreneurs especially. And that's why I wrote a little book called Wall Street Yoga, because people are different. There are people who are very hyper, people who cannot stick to a thought. For example, me, when I am in a lab, I'm thinking of 150 thoughts together. Okay, I mix this and this, it becomes this. No, 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 let me mix this and this. No, 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 let me mix this and this. So I have like 100 thoughts coming simultaneously. But for people like you and me who have built stuff, who are entrepreneurs, the one of the ways is dynamic meditation, as simple as that. So you close your senses, which is I'm going to close my ears like this. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to deep breathe in. Mm. So I didn't do the whole thing because I didn't want to waste time, your TV time on that. But what this does is if you do it 5 times in a row and try to elongate the breathing out time for over
And
45.
the noise, the om, or is
No,
an X
all I
exhale.
was doing was I was just exhaling and I was making a noise from my thyroid area, my throat. I was saying which is like a bee's breath.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing is I'm actually with the noise, I'm making it dynamic. And I'm thinking there is a bee that's actually circulating in my head and closing every computer file that's open. So I'm rebooting yourself. It's like Control Alt Delete on Microsoft.
That's a great analogy. And
So
so the noise is giving your mind something to focus on, and the visual of the bee shutting down the file system is giving you a moment to recharge and control delete the system.
so I actually named it Yogic Reboot.
That's a
So
good name. It makes good sense.
so if you do it 10 times every day, I promise you, you'll see within 40 days if somebody has, means I am telling you my own experience, your blood pressure drops by from anywhere from 5 to 10 points. If you do it regularly every day, 10 to 20 times, 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. It's unbelievable. But as the famous yogi had said, uh, yoga is 99% physical, yoga is 99% uh, practical and 1% theory. So I can tell you anything. If you don't do it, it's not going to help you.
Right.
It's like weight training. It's like mind training. And people forget 50% of the body is the the physical piece of it, and the rest 50% is the spiritual or mental piece of it. If you feel good, you will be good. You will be healthy. So people take care of their cut on their physical skin, but they do not take care of the cut on their physical mind. People forget. Let's say if I told you something really bad, let's say if you went to a coffee shop and you were a black guy and somebody told you, hey, you nigger, or something really bad, that guy really felt bad. And so he'll have a scar inside his head. He'll have a little cut inside his head, or not inside his head means in his mental self.
Yeah. There's a mental scar to
So he
us
cannot
being
put a
mean to each
band-aid.
other.
He
Right.
cannot put a band-aid. Similarly, there are other situations. Maybe when you were in school, somebody bullied you, or one of your parents really treated you worse than your sister or your brother, or stuff like this. So our mental health is equally important. Right now, right now in the Corona days, as you say, our mental health is everybody, period. I don't know of anybody who's as healthy as he was in Feb.
It's yeah, 100%. And those are the issues. Well, a very good friend of mine has a bridal store, and she calls it the Corona 15, although in some cases it's the Corona 40. And so like bridesmaids are coming in who used to be in a size 4 and legit are like size 12. Interestingly, some of them are happier because they were like sustaining an unhealthy lifestyle, and now they're like, I don't care. But I know for an absolute fact that like I have embraced the Bryson DeChambeau body, and I was really gonna in March when this was only 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and I was gonna run, and I did run, and I was getting healthy, and then as this has kind of gone on, I drink more, I eat more, I sleep in more. There is zero chance I'm anywhere near as healthy as I was 6 months ago. And society is going to have such long-term implications of that.
And truthfully speaking, it's every change is difficult. Every change is difficult. Whenever you move houses, whenever you move jobs, whenever you move. So we have radically changed to 180-degree different in last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine I can't go out to a grocery store without a mask. I not that I have to, but I want to also. But it's also I'm scared.
I like the way you characterize it because regardless of what side of any personal freedom, not personal freedom, everyone has gone through a dramatic change in the way that the world is being experienced by them and by their presence in it. And all of the expectations that we had as humans in terms of what public education was, what healthcare was, what jobs were, what progression was, all of those things have changed. And when you say change is hard, and compare it to moving, I think that that is the most succinct description of what we're seeing in society, and we're seeing different reactions.
And some people can take the change easier, other people can't, and they literally fall apart. And that is what we're seeing. You saw that little article about American Airlines be having a big brawl of two people. People are not. People are taking this personally. People are taking this partisan wise. Some people see this as a impeach, like something against their freedom. Some people, but all it is we take care of each other as humans. We all wear masks. We all live together, and we all take care of each other. If somebody's in problem, we help them rather than uh, ridicule them or actually say, "Oh, I'm a different human." We all, at the end of the day, will all united we stand, divided we fall. Is what we are.
You know, I think that this, I want to go back to meditation and I think some of the aromatherapy because I find that really interesting. But it seems like a good point, you know, as an Indian American, as someone who started a business, as someone who has personally probably experienced racism, discrimination, bullying on a different level than someone like myself would have, and I can't visualize. I'm curious how this um, approach to life helped you earlier in your life to deal with maybe injustices or unfairnesses, or maybe it didn't happen to you and your
I
experience
must
was
be
different.
I must be real. I've been very lucky. I personally have had maybe a couple of instances from a couple of situations where people try to really like I was going to get a big order and I did not get it because somebody else was favored, but that could have been other reasons. I've been lucky, so I do not want to tell you that I've actually felt America is a land of equal opportunity to most degree. I would tell you that there is probably more racism in the rest of the world, which people are not aware of, just because when you've only seen good, a little bad seems a lot bad. Imagine going to parts of UK or going to India even,
Right.
or going to looking at dissecting the societies means going to a village in India, you'll see sometimes there's caste system that is a form of racism. And going to UK, you'll see a lot more actual racism than here. Or going to France, you'll see a total racism against your language, English. And so there is racism cannot be in one format of color. It could become in other formats. So I would truly tell you, America is probably, for a lot of people who think America is bad, actually America is one of the best.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I couldn't agree with you more. And it feels again, I feel like it's issue upon issue where we've been locked in our house, we've been forced to change, we've seen issues that like the symptom of the problem is that we're home and we're seeing riots and we're seeing this and we're seeing that. So I really appreciate that, and I agree. I think that the United States and you know I'm a dual citizen with Canada, so I'll include Canada in this. Although I'm a little bit concerned about the way that country's going, but I love America. We're the luckiest people in the world, and the level of hatred to try and tear down our country seems. But again, I love your balanced approach, and so much must come from the way you see the world. Let's talk about aromatherapy and how you've used that in addition to the other techniques to you know center yourself and be a very balanced, pragmatic individual.
So one of the things that is one of our best sellers is a diffuser that we created that has ultrasonic waves that make the water mist out. And when you put a few drops of pure lavender on it, you'll feel like you're in a lavender garden. The lavender actually flows, and there is a lot of studies that you can find on PubMed that lavender has linalool in it, which actually relaxes your brain and actually gives you your brings down your cortisol level, actually de-stresses you quite a bit. So it's almost like taking a if you had to compare it, it's almost like taking an anti-anxiolytic of some nature to a certain degree. Now, then there are people like me who are a little type A, which are overthinkers. So what I do is instead of necessarily having the diffuser that has a water and sitting next to it, I just plug it in. I've got a product that I came out with. It's called Natural Mist. It's also called Pluggy. I call it Pluggy. My salesperson, she said that Pluggy is too kiddish. Let's call it Natural Mist. So we call it Natural Mist, but I still love it as Pluggy. And that thing, you just fit a essential oil bottle on it, put it in your wall, and relax, and it kind of keeps the little every 5 or 10 minutes it spurts out the real essential oils that keep your air really inundated with the linalool of the real lavender. Now, the problem in this business, why I came to this business, there were a couple of multi-level marketing companies like doTERRA and Young Living. They had amazing quality product, but their pricing was like $50 for a bottle of lavender. So I, as an entrepreneur, thought, what is wrong? There is product available on Amazon for $1 and they are selling it for $50. So as a chemist by background, I took that $1 bottle from Amazon, and it was $9.99 for 6-pack. I took that, I put it under a GC, and I saw that over 75% of the product that I bought were actually synthetic fragrances, and they were all fragrances. So fragrances are chemically derived. There are over 3,000 chemicals that are put together to replicate the nature. And you can do that. It's not very difficult. There's tons of companies that can do that. And the cost of that product is 1/10 or even 1/20th. But the thing is, chemicals are again toxins to your body versus essential oils, real ones. Your body thinks them like plant food. So it would process it, metabolize it, whatever is needed, good is needed, it will keep in your body. Whatever bad it is to your body, it would get excreted through your respiration, urination, excretion kind of system. Versus if you're taking synthetic product in, like spraying a air freshener that you find at 98 cents, that you're spraying with all the VOC gases or whatever, CFC gases, with a lot of perfume inside it. Those are all not good for your body, because those will remain in your body as toxins and add to your toxic fat. So the problem is there is no natural FDA. So everybody can call everything. So I went to and I bought something that had a dollar price point for a 1 liter bottle of shampoo with a girl flying in the lavender cotton, but on the back it's written fragrance. And that is actually anti-lavender, because it's nothing that will relax you. Now, there is Epsom salts that have fragrance on the back. That is nothing, but you're actually diluting the benefit of magnesium sulfate, which actually helps you contract your release your contraction of your muscles. But the moment you add fragrance to it, it actually, because it's warm water, it actually gets absorbed in your body and adds to your toxic overload. So what people are doing is they don't study. They're educated, but not, they're educated in a system which only teaches them sine squared theta plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. How many people in your and my life have used that trigonometry or that?
Very, very, very few. But I do remember SOHCAHTOA to be able to figure out where everything goes when I have the opposite over the adjacent equals it. Anyway, for that little engineering joke for everybody out there. So really interesting. Do you have Epsom salts as well as part of your product line?
We have yet not launched it, because there is a lot of product in the market that is there with fragrance and that and most of the retailers, and problem with Amazon is if you're not on the top 5 or 6 things with 10,000 fake reviews on there, you can't sell, and it's not worth your while. So slowly we are getting there. We're building our brand one by one, and we're educating. We're spending all the money we're making to educate people to understand what we're doing. And the idea is it would take time, but truth will prevail, as they say. And I'm hoping that I can educate people and tell them that they don't have to pay the big dollars that doTERRA is charging. They can come and buy the same product at Guru Nanda or similar or better quality and still pay fraction of the cost and still not get bogged down by buying the product that is being either manufactured in a factory with chemicals and trying to think that that's going to improve their lives, because it's not going to.
Yeah. So I like to ask this question of my guests. It's sort of like the Guy Raz, was it luck or skill and how I built this? But if you could go back to yourself in, say, 2007, when you're in the midst of Dr. Fresh, and maybe you need to go back sooner, but you could give yourself advice that really would have changed your life, what would it be, and would you do it? Because it feels like the epiphany and the catalyst for change was so important to what you've become, then maybe you wouldn't want to change the cycle. What do you think about that?
Truthfully, I would tell you, I think of changing myself all the time, but it's very unfortunate. It's not that easy to change, to be truthful. I thought if I had a new company ever again in my life, this is what I thought after selling Dr. Fresh, I'd probably keep everything very AI based or very simplistic. I would not necessarily be. I would be more dependent upon computers and dependent upon more systems to run the show rather than trying to do everything myself. But a lot of people, when they say they are old school because it's not easy to change. And I have felt that, and then there is other issues. I've not been able to find necessarily good people that can take a lot of overload off of me. But it may also be a reason that maybe I am like that. I don't want to give that control. So it's not easy to change. I am trying every day. I strive to change every day. I have made at least 20 to 30% changes that have made my life a lot more balanced than it was in 2007. But have I done it to 100% degree? I'd be lying if I told you I have. Well, it's not easy to change. Uh, you can say and you can become a saint, but it's if I tell you 100%, it would be a lie. I have changed, and I actually have made a chart of the problems I have that I foresee. I know the biggest thing is knowing what is wrong with you, and I actually know what is wrong with me, and I've put it on a chart in front of me, and every single day I strive to do exactly so that I can change myself to make one thing go off that.
Well, I'm very curious. What is on your list of what's wrong with you?
So number one thing is I want to like as much as possible automate and outsource. For example, let's say a warehouse. I have a big warehouse. I have a 100,000 square feet warehouse. Ideally, I would not want a warehouse. I would want a third party warehouse where there's somebody else who's taking care of the warehousing. Because having a warehouse now adds extra complexity to the whole process.
And that's not where you make your money. That's a tactic, not a strategy.
So the problem is I only want to do in my rest of the years I want to do things I love and things I enjoy. I I went to every farm around the globe personally. I touched the soil. I ensured that I'm actually talking to ethical farmers who are actually, and I donated to certain farmers so that they can open schools for orphans. I donated to certain people, or I bought product from certain people who are actually helping the community around them. So, so by doing so, I was trying to, and I felt immense joy doing that, immense joy. So I want to spend more time doing that rather than trying to count the boxes in the warehouse. Number two, I also am an avid reader and am an avid researcher. So I want to go in depth after why lavender is helping me. How can I change? What can I mix with it? What can I do? And what is it being used for last 500 years in Kazanlak in Bulgaria, or in this particular area in Ukraine, or in this particular area in Kashmir? Why did people grow lavender? What was the reason? I want to learn the history of every single oil and why they've been used to improve that particular race or mankind, and probably bring it to America. That's what I love doing. But then I got caught up in accounting and
Right.
counting boxes in the way. Not that I do it myself, but I get involved in all that because, which I necessarily don't like. But to run a business, you have to do it. And
There's a book that your story kind of makes me reflect on, that's called First Break All the Rules. And I remember reading it maybe 15 years ago. Someone could check the published date and say, no, David, you read it 13 years ago. But the concept being like, don't change yourself, focus on your strengths. And if you focus on your strengths, you're able to be more successful because you can be the best at those things and other people can be the best at other things. I'm sure people want to run a 100,000 square foot warehouse and they would be wonderful at it, but you need to be able to go into depth. So I love that. So I'm going to take away from this conversation. I want to paraphrase to make sure so that the Hot Take of the Day listeners can maybe join me in this. So for 40 days, if I can simply meditate, dynamic meditation, 20 times a day, 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the afternoon, and have the bee recharge my file system. If I can commit to drink 3 liters a day of water so that I can be more hydrated, and follow the pure principle, as in perspire, urinate, respirate, excrete, through increasing my fiber intake and being a little bit more healthy. In 40 days, I am going to feel a hell of a lot better. and
I
happier
promise.
than I do today, and I will be able to bring more hope and change to the world.
Can I add one more thing to it?
Please do. I wanted. That's why I wanted to
So
paraphrase it.
this is something that I do every day, or at least 3 to 4 times a week. I used to do it every day. It's a thing called oil pulling. Have you heard of oil pulling?
I have not. I pulled oil from the ground for 20 years. That is the only oil of which I am familiar of pulling.
So there is something called oil pulling that I introduced to the world in a bottle. And if you go on Amazon, you write oil pulling, Guru Nanda oil pulling shows us number one. The reason is because I introduced it. I did it first time myself in yoga days in India, and I before going to India, I had seen a dentist who had said, "Hey, you need a root canal done for one of the paining teeth," and I was like really scared to let my teeth go away. It's root canal is you're keeping it as dead. And in the meanwhile, I decided to go to India. I was taking some antibiotics. I went to India. This guy in India gave me this Ayurvedic formula to do oil pulling. I started doing it. Within a month, I had no problems. And I've still till date, after 10 years, never had to touch that teeth or go to a do a root canal. I do see a dentist once a year. I make sure once in a while I get cleaning done. But really, the dental assistant says there's nothing in your teeth to clean because I feel a lot of it is oil pulling. But more than anything, what oil pulling is also done is it's my form of dynamic meditation because you have to pull oil for 10 minutes.
And so, what is the tech? What am I doing when I'm pulling
So you
oil?
take this
Is it
specific blend. It is a unique, and I took that formulation and I put it in a bottle for my friends and family initially, and later on it's become a real product. It's one of the best selling oil pulling products in the world now. It's called Guru Nanda oil pulling, and what it does is when you take that oil, it's a mixture of sesame, sunflower, peppermint, as well as coconut, and each of these oils is in a specific ratio. So what it does is there are three things in a body. Human body has been classified as Vata, Pitta, Kapha in Ayurveda, and it pacifies all three. And then the peppermint in it is fire in it, so that your metabolism grows. And
do I eat it or do I rub
no,
it
no, no.
or
You never eat it.
never eat it?
You just swish with it and keep swishing for 10 minutes. It's very hard. You start with 30 seconds, then a minute, then 1.5 minutes. Your jaws would start to really ache initially, but you get a hang of it. And within a month, you'll be doing it for 10 minutes. And I do it normally when I'm in a shower. Before going to the shower, I take a spray that I've made for myself. I take some eucalyptus oil, I spray it in my shower. It opens my sinuses up, and then I take this oil pulling. I pull oil for 10 minutes, and I'm under the shower. And what it does is, it really gives me time. Number one, I'm doing something dynamic. And number two, I don't have time to think anything else. I'm oil pulling. So what it does is it's meditation for me. When I am done doing it, and I go and spit it in my commode so that it doesn't block any oil doesn't block anything else. But by the time I spit it, it's all literally, it's saliva and it's all toxins. So oil pulls because oil actually below our tongue, you can actually reach the bloodstream directly. That's why you eat certain things because the mucosa right below the tongue is actually where you bypass the liver and you meet directly it's accessible to your, like sometimes they give you some drops right under your tongue so that they can reach to your bloodstream fairly quickly. So you're literally pulling toxins this way, and as well as you're pulling all the bad bacteria that are below your biofilms on your teeth. These are called Streptococcus mutans. These are the worst bacteria that cause problems in your teeth, and oral health dictates your systemic health. So if you're orally strong, if your oral health is good, your entire body becomes a replica of your oral health. So by adding oil pulling to all of this, I would say you'll actually start to literally take care of a lot of things. This oil pulling to me is like meditation. Plus, it takes care of detoxing my mouth as well as my body. So at the end of the day, I feel that a lot of my health and my mental health as well as my physical health has also improved by oil pulling. So add that to your
Okay.
regimen.
Well, I have to say, I didn't know what to expect when we had this chat, but I knew that it was going to be important. And for those Hot Take of the Day listeners, we don't do advertising here, and we don't do product pushing, and so to be clear, this conversation was because I think I, like others, are looking at a way to take control and make a change. And when I saw the experience of Guru Nanda, I feel like I can say that now, and a lot of your life experience and the change that you became post your anxiety attack and what you've done, I wanted to learn about that. So I am going to commit that I'm going to do this for 40 days. I'm going to go on Amazon. I'm going to order this product, and I will report back, and we will have you back on in 40 days, and I will be ready for the next phase of my growth. And so that's my commitment to you. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Just don't forget one thing.
Okay.
99% of yoga is practice, 1% is theory. So if you're committing to it, commit to it, to where you actually practically do it.
Yep.
Because
otherwise, it ain't gonna work.
It ain't gonna work. It's like almost like somebody told me, "Oh, I tried it. It didn't work." I said, "It's almost like you getting antibiotics from your doctor and you are super sick and you don't take them, or you take one dose. It's not gonna help. So you have to commit to those 40 days."
Well, I will. I think you'll appreciate that the first chapter in my book. I haven't done a dramatic reading for my book for quite some time, but the first chapter is called Losing Weight. Eat less, exercise more. Yes, it is that easy. Chapter 2.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. That's our episode for Hot Take of the Day podcast this week. Until next time, I'm DRW. You can always subscribe on everywhere you get your podcasts, write a review, and let's expand the audience beyond just oil and gas. And I think that this is a great show to do that. Until next time, be safe, be good, have a great day, and bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.